Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Delighted to meet you for this new editorial R7, which still focuses on the Congolese Labour Party, the PCT, the Party of Manipulators, an association of criminals. Chasing the natural, he returns at a gallop, said Des Obviously, we always return to these primary tendencies rather than to what constitutes the essence itself. 200 characters. It had certainly also been noted that the Congolese Labour Party, the PCT, was regaining its single-party reflexes. The party is a party of manipulators, as I said, an association of criminals, and that we have demonstrated enough that has no patriotic fiber, no humanism, no respect for the Congolese, a group of criminals disguised as a political party.
Let's talk about the murders, stuff, all that. The insecurity at the time should be remembered. Well, he wasn't an actor yet. We were actors. You have to tell it. Your little brother said he was an actor. You weren't an actor. You were working there in letting it go when they, with Camille Oko, decided to never leave the soda to themselves. It wasn't our power. We created insecurity everywhere. But it had a purpose. It was to get people to think that way. And as soon as they started saying that, it gave the political means to this term.
Et dès lors qu'ils ont commencé à dire ça, ça donnait les moyens politiques
to rebound and recover, that's it.
Return to power, you know it through the entire military state. To take revenge then against the Congolese, we know it. For what reason the Congolese, that the EPCT and its delinquent president have reduced to slavery their price range from anything or almost?
That's the lazy president. You go to Congo, there is not even drinking water with Sassou Nguesso. He too, he has been in power for 40 years. These are the facts that are there in front of us that we see. A poor man is not free, neither philosophically nor anthropologically. A poor slave.
Another proof of manipulation and humiliation of the Congolese by this criminal association. You have certainly seen on social networks moms deprived of their survival activities to go sing glory. Of the dictator who usurped power, Denis Sassou Nguesso, who, as everyone now knows, has seized all the money from Congolese oil and all the other natural resources exploited in Congo, Brazzaville, thus creating a false economic and financial crisis with the sole aim of keeping the Congolese in misery, in suffering, in absolute precariousness, in order to better subjugate them. The PCT, we have sufficiently demonstrated, is an association of criminals that deliberately and continuously violates the fundamental law and takes too much liberty to dehumanize the Congolese. You have certainly also seen on February 5th how they, under the nose of the Congolese, violated again the constitution that they had nevertheless imposed on the Congolese by the 100 in October 2015. A violation of the Congolese Constitution of October 25th, 2015 said, I, characterized by the display throughout the city of signs and banners on which Denis Sassou Nguesso, President of the Central Committee of the Congolese Labour Party, therefore President of this criminal association, in violation of Article 80 of the Congolese Constitution, paragraph 2. Should I also remind you that Denis Sassou Nguesso has never but really never declared his heritage. Thus, it violates Article 55 of the Constitution of 25 October 2015, which provides that every citizen elected or appointed to high public office is required to declare his assets when taking office and when leaving office in accordance with the law. And besides, so that a Congolese does not really know the salary of Denis Sassou Nguesso. For your information, the decree that sets the salaries of members of the Congolese government has never been published in the official journal. You can go check him out while he earns really big salaries of the order of 1,500 down 1,000 and more non-taxable. In addition, it means that he does not pay taxes and therefore also in violation of the law. This is how we can therefore ask ourselves the question of who the Constitution of October 25, 2015 exists. If the one who took the oath is Article 77 of this same Constitution, you can go consult it to respect and enforce the Constitution, violates it rather permanently.
I solemnly swear to uphold and uphold the Constitution.
La Constitution. Et de défendre la nation.
And to defend the nation and the republican form of the state, to guarantee peace and justice to all.
Et la justice à tous.
Article 50 of this Constitution. Does it not stipulate that every citizen has the duty to comply with the Constitution, the laws and regulations of the Republic, and to discharge his obligations towards the state and society? Why does Denis Sassou Nguesso and his PCT gang repeatedly break the law with impunity? As the saying goes, those who drink will drink. They are so compromised in theft, embezzlement, corruption, extortion, that they can no longer turn back, especially not respecting the law. And you know why? But because compromise involved in many scandals of theft, corruption, embezzlement of Congolese oil money, and you also know that Denis Sassou Nguesso alone owns more than 18 properties. And no less than 112 bank accounts are counted vehicles in France and prosecuted for ill-gotten gains.
New development in the Congolese part of the ill-gotten gains file investigated by French justice. The daughter and son-in-law of President Denis Sassou Nguesso were indicted in time after this Sunday, with Agence France Presse, which cites sources close to the file. French investigating judges suspect Juliette Sassou Nguesso and her husband Guy Johnson of having used public money laundering networks to acquire a private mansion in the upscale suburbs of Paris. The news of the indictment of these two relatives of the Congolese president comes 3 months after that, which notified his nephew, Wilfried Sassou Nguesso.
Note also that Donner Sassou is not a simple delinquent, but also a notorious economic and financial criminal, according to the IMF. It is just a reminder between 1999 and 2002. 240 or $8 million, or nearly 150 billion CFA francs from the extraction of crude have not left traces, including the national accounts of Congo. I told you about the other scandals. This may explain why Denis Sassou Nguesso never respects the law. This is his weakness and his strength. You got it? It's the crime. A criminal here at the head of Congo-Brazzaville by imperialist powers. Remember, just after his military coup in June 1997, among the first people to visit him was the CEO of Elf Aquitaine, Philippe Jaffray. Can you imagine? We are talking here about oil, a coup d'etat for French oil interests in Congo-Brazzaville.
Remember the Paradise Papers? That huge leak of confidential documents? Well, he keeps talking. By peeling through them, Jérémy Barouk, journalist at Le Monde, discovered how Total helped the Republic of Congo circumvent International Monetary Fund directives. This is the Lycol affair. To understand, we have to go back to the late 1990s, at the end of a bloody civil war. Denis Sassou Nguesso returns to power, but he finds the state coffers too empty for his taste and believes that it is partly the fault of ELF, one of the large French oil companies. In 2003, Total, which bought ELF, decided to sweep away this dispute and found common ground. Instead of a financial transaction, Total is offering Congo an oil concession, but Congo needs money. The solution would be to do what is called in banking jargon an oil pre-financing. An oil pre-financing means that Congo will be able to borrow money from a bank for a sum that is equivalent to barrels of oil that have not yet been extracted, enough to transform the oil concession into a cash machine even before the oil has flowed. The problem is that for international institutions like the IMF, this type of agreement is suspicious. There are many intermediaries. Money can be easily misappropriated. In short, there is a high risk of corruption. Congo also committed itself in 2000 to the IMF to no longer use it, and that's where the Lee Koala case comes in. To escape the radar of the IMF, Total imagined a complex offshore arrangement to conceal such pre-financing. And although it denies it, Total is the cornerstone of this montage. This is proven by all the documents to which the world has had access. In short, this is how they went about it. The France-based multinational created Montereau International Limited, a company registered in an opaque tax haven, the British Virgin Islands. This company was then integrated into another structure in Jersey, Montereau Trust, and it later became the owner of Ikwala SA, a Congolese company. The Ikalafa is actually a kind of empty shell. It has no paid employee, but just a director who is actually an executive of Total. She does not have a bank account. She leaves Total to manage her finances. It is also Total that pays the managers of offshore companies. It is thanks to the company Likwala, which came out of nowhere, that Total can raise oil pre-financing. It borrows 70 million euros from BNP Paribas to buy an oil concession in Congo-Brazzaville. The repayment of this sum is guaranteed by oil production over the next 7 years. And again, it's not Likwala that extracts the oil, it's Total. In the end, Total paid nothing. Congo recovers cash, and all this is done without the knowledge of the FM.
Interests for which more than 400,000 Congolese were massacred. And oil that has never ever benefited the Congolese themselves. Have France's interests become incompatible with respect for human rights? This is the question that the Congolese must now ask themselves. He has been in power for 27 years, since his military coup in 1997. Denis Sassou Nguesso is unable to provide a single drop of drinking water to the Congolese, and to say that the PCTA still chose this gentleman as a candidate for the 2026 presidential election, who has not understood that the EPCT rejoices at the misfortune of the Congolese and would like to keep them there for a long time. Finally, what does the EPCT play at? Why this arrogance, this contempt, a hatred of revenge, this cynicism pushed to the extreme against the Congolese? The only answer is that the Congolese represent absolutely nothing in the eyes of the Congolese Labour Party, but above all, because they are incapable of taking up their responsibilities to change the course of history, to free themselves. Need I remind you that you do not liberate a people? A people must be liberated. It will never come from heaven. Sorry to tell you. Here, this is just a reminder for Christians, since Congo is more than 80% of the Christian population. David, to fight Goliath, needed a spear. Peter, remember? Jesus Christ, to perform his great miracle of abundance, asked the crowd to bring him 2 fishes and 5 loaves. Like what? Heaven will help you. There is nothing for nothing, and it never falls from the sky. That is why sometimes you have to dare before God comes to your aid. And so the slave who is not capable of assuming his revolt does not deserve to be pitied for getting out of it, said Thomas Sankara.